If you've got $830,000 and you want Adelaide Hills lifestyle without paying $1.3 million for Aldgate, Woodside might be the most overlooked opportunity in South Australia right now. Here's what makes it interesting. It's not just affordable, it's positioned for a structural shift. There's a $320 million Mount Barker Hospital expansion underway. New schools are coming, and the population is projected to grow 13.4% by 2041. That's the story beneath the surface. Woodside sits 37 kilometres from Adelaide CBD, positioned in the Adelaide Hills lifestyle corridor. The commute is reasonable, 33 minutes by car or an hour by direct bus service that runs 5 times weekly. That's far enough to feel like genuine hills living with tree-lined streets, acreage properties, and a strong community feel. The vibe is distinctly family-oriented. Here's where location matters. Woodside isn't competing against inner Adelaide suburbs. It's competing against nearby Nairne at $790,000, Lobethal at $700,000, and Mount Barker at $745,000. Woodside's $831,000 positioning puts it in premium within affordability territory. It offers hills character and accessibility to growth catalysts happening just 10 minutes away in Mount Barker. The median house price is $831,000. And here's where the value story emerges. Compare the nearby suburbs. Nairne is $790,000, only $41,000 cheaper, but with an aging population. Lobethal is $700,000, which is 27% cheaper, but much smaller and more rural. Mount Barker is $745,000, slightly cheaper, but the growth suburb taking all the infrastructure attention. Woodside's sweet spot is affordable entry to premium hills positioning without paying premium prices. A 3-bedroom sits around $730,000 and a 4-bedroom around $931,000. Price per square meter at approximately $6,200 to $6,800 is 15 to 20% cheaper than prestigious hill suburb like Aldgate at $1.59 million, or even Stirling at $1.5 million. You're getting established, quality housing at reasonable hills pricing. The growth story shows 47% cumulative over 5 years. That works out to about 6.8% annual growth compounding. Recent 12 months have been more conservative at 0.8% to 3% increases, but that masks the stronger long-term story. 3 structural factors are driving this. First, affordability within the hills. As prices in Mount Barker, Nairne, and Aldgate surge, buyers seeking hills lifestyle are trading down to Woodside. Second, population growth catalysts. Mount Barker Hospital is expanding for $320 million with completion by 2027. New schools are coming in 2025 and 2026, and bus services are increasing by 42%. Third, long-term projections show that by 2041, the Lobethal Woodside area is projected to grow by 13.4%, with 1,474 additional residents. This isn't explosive growth. It's structural, predictable growth from population pressure and infrastructure investment. Let's look at supply and demand together because they tell the same story. 38 days on market is competitive, especially for Adelaide Hills, where 45 to 60 days is typical for smaller suburbs. In the past 12 months, between 35 and 49 houses sold, roughly 1 property per week on average. That's moderate turnover, not bottlenecked by some niche hill suburbs. The development pipeline is healthy with 56 residential approvals annually over the last 5 years, totaling 280 homes. This signal supply isn't constrained by scarcity alone. You're getting reasonable supply meeting genuine demand. Prices are supported by the fundamentals, growing population and infrastructure, not artificial scarcity. The tight rental market at 0.8% vacancy across Adelaide means renters are genuinely want to live in the hills. Population growth in the Lobethal Woodside area is 5.6% competitive versus South Australia's average of 7.1%. Here's the crucial insight. 54% of population growth is from interstate migration. People are actively choosing to relocate to the hills from interstates, attracted by lifestyle and quality of life. That's real demand, not synthetic. Properties spend 38 days on market, suggesting buyers move more decisively when they find the right property at the right price. Now, here's the game changer. The $320 million Mount Barker Hospital expansion is literally under construction right now. Ground preparation commenced in late 2024, with completion expected in late 2027. We're talking about tripling inpatient capacity from 34 to 102 beds, plus new maternity, pediatrics, surgery, and emergency services. Beyond the hospital, new schools are coming online at Mount Barker in 2024 through 2026. Adelaide Metro bus service is also increasing by 42%, meaning more frequent services. There's also the Northern Adelaide Irrigation System, a $1.5 billion South Australia water program that supports housing growth for 40,000 additional homes. Woodside isn't the epicenter of these catalysts, but it is adjacent to Mount Barker, just 10 minutes away. Benefits accrue as regional infrastructure improves connectivity and services. Houses rent for approximately $600 per week on $831,000 purchase price. That's a 3.6% gross yield. Adelaide's metro average is 3.4%, so Woodside is performing above average. Adelaide Hills prestigious suburbs like Stirling and Aldgate yields are 2.5 to 3%, so you're getting better returns with Woodside's value positioning. Over 10 years, 3.6% yield generates about $172,000 in cumulative rent. That's 3 to 5% annual growth conservatively. And total returns compound to 6.6 to 8.6 annually. That's solid, stable income without being too flashy. Woodside attracts own occupiers seeking Hills lifestyle at affordable price points. Average age is 47, so slightly aging, but still stable and not declining, most importantly. The demographic is primarily families and empty nesters trading up from inner Adelaide or relocating from interstate for quality of life. Owner-occupier dominance, estimated at 60 to 65%, means long-term hold strategies, property maintenance, and community stability. Education levels are solid, with 25.7% being university qualified and 38.4% with vocational credentials. So what this translates to is stable, employed, quality demographic anchoring prices, and demand. For schools and amenities, Woodside Primary School is on-site and locally rated. Nearby Mount Barker has excellent school networks with new developments underway. For families, proximity to education is an anchor value. Amenities are solid. Close to Mount Barker commercial hubs is just 10 minutes away. Local shopping, parks, recreation, wine country, and tourist attractions nearby add that lifestyle appeal. The real catalyst is Mount Barker's infrastructure expansion. This will enhance regional amenities, so new hospital, schools, public transport. Woodside residents benefit from proximity without bearing the higher price tag of Mount Barker itself. So what are the risks? First, this is a commute dependency. If you're working in the CBD, a 1-hour bus commute or a 33-minute drive is significant and car dependent. Second, it's interest rate sensitivity. At $831,000, small rate changes impact serviceability. Rising rates could soften demand. Third, regional economic dependency. Adelaide Hills economy is tied to tourism, local employment, and discretionary spending. So economic downturns could impact employment and the visitor economy. Fourth, infrastructure execution risk. If Mount Barker Hospital or transport upgrades stall, the catalyst thesis weakens. Fifth, supply surge. If Adelaide Hills regulations open up to more development, supply could increase faster than demand. So overall risk here is low to medium. There's no systematic red flags that we can see. Execution on catalysts is the primary variable, and most risks are cyclical, not structural. So let's be clear about who should consider Woodside. If you're a growth investor seeking value entry to the hills and willing to hold 5 or more years, Woodside checks these boxes. Affordable price point, solid fundamentals, adjacent catalysts, 3.6% yield, conservative 3+% growth trajectory. If you're seeking yield above 5%, this won't excite you too much. Adelaide North suburbs like Manapara at 5.1% or Elizabeth Downs at 5.3% beats Woodside on yield. If you're a first home buyer in Adelaide or relocating from interstate wanting Hills lifestyle without the $1.3 million price tags, Woodside is an exceptional fit. Quality housing, strong community, reasonable commutes, growth potential. If you need a sub 40-minute CBD commute, Woodside isn't ideal. The fit depends on your strategy and commute tolerance. Timing is favorable, but not urgent here. The infrastructure catalysts roll out over 18 to 36 months. Hospital completion by 2027. Schools 2025 to 2026. most investors haven't yet adjusted their mental models to reflect the regional shift. Over the next 12 to 24 months, as Mount Barker's infrastructure gains traction and word spreads, prices will likely re-rate upwards. Woodside could see 5 to 8% annual growth as a secondary beneficiary of Mount Barker's expansion. Right now in January 2026, you're in the informed investor window before broader markets awareness. Not urgency, just strategic timing. For realistic returns, here's what the data suggests. So looking at a conservative scenario, we're looking at 2% growth plus maybe a 3.6% yield, which provides a 5.6% annual total return. Base case, which is most likely, a 4 to 5% growth window plus a 3.6% yield, which will return around 7.6 to 8.6% annually. And looking at the upside scenario, if the catalysts accelerate, you could be looking at 6 to 8% growth plus a 3.6% yield, which will return at 9.6 to 11.6% annually. Over 10 years, turning $831,000 into $1.5 to $1.2 million in realistic scenarios. That's meaningful wealth creation without being dramatic. The kind of boring, steady compound that builds equity over a decade. The investment thesis is straightforward. Affordable hills entry point plus adjacent infrastructure catalysts plus genuine population growth plus quality demographic plus solid yield and structural demand tailwinds. All four factors are aligned, not hypergrowth, but structural, predictable, sustainable growth. When all factors work together, you get sustained demand from both owner-occupiers and investors. You're not betting on one narrative, you're betting on multiple structural factors converging. That's lower risk than concentrated bets. Woodside's story is reliable hills compound play. Not sexy, but reliable. If this analysis gave you the framework to understand the value propositioning within the Adelaide Hills, please like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to Investor for weekly fundamentals and suburb highlights. Thank you for watching. See you next time.